Militarily Speaking, Season 2, Episode 7, Association of Military Banks of America.
This episode, we talk with Omuso George, Brigadier General, U.S. Army retired, President and CEO of the Association of Military Banks of America.
Welcome to Militarily Speaking, brought to you by Armed Forces Bank. This is Tom McLean and Jodi Vickery, who would rather be somewhere else. I am the military retail
That's
executive.
not true.
Not with MERS, but maybe just in general. I'm the military retail executive for Armed Forces Bank, and Jodi is our, get this, Moose, Jodi is a chief digital officer.
Wow.
We're still trying to figure out
Job
what that
description
means,
to be determined at a later date.
We're making it up as we go.
Right.
It's fine.
It's probably working out pretty good so far, though, right?
Yeah, I kind of just describe it as, you know what, we'll work for food. It'll be okay. Jack of all trades. When
you think of chief digital officer, what's the first word that comes to your mind, Moose?
Being able to access the internet.
That is not one word.
Just one word.
One word.
Digital is the first word that comes to mind.
You cannot use a word in the definition of it.
Thinking we'd not do very well at charade, whatever that is.
That's right.
Oh, it made me think of that clip off of the NBA on TNT when Charles Barkley kept saying, "I got 2 words for you." And then he would rattle off like 6 or 7 words. It's funny. Anyway, we digress significantly.
Thank you, Jodi.
Welcome to our show. We're excited to have you listening and learning all about our guest, Omuso George. And he's given us permission on occasion to refer to him as Moose, which
yes.
A nickname of endearment.
We have to do air quotes.
Air quotes that nobody can see because it's an audio-only podcast. But rest assured, we're doing them.
And we don't even know if that's really Moose because we can't see him.
I Googled him. It's fine.
All right.
He looks like he sounds.
You can test me by asking me questions about Omuso George, otherwise known as Moose, and see how well I answer compared to what you know.
Okay, favorite movie of all time.
Oh my gosh, that's not a fair question, Tom. Because
all right, favorite musical artist.
That's not a fair question.
All right, favorite sports team. That's fair.
I'm going to say the Giants.
And that would be the
they're
New
not
York
doing
Giants?
that great right now. So, I have mixed feelings about the Giants right now, Tom.
So what do you think about
the New York football Giants?
See, Moose can answer a question.
There we go.
See?
All right. We're going to bring it back around.
We'll
I got
get back
things
to
to
music
share.
and movies later and streaming shows. Okay.
I got things to share about Moose. We're going to tell our audience just a little bit about you, or a lot about you, because there's a lot to tell, actually. Omuso joined AMBA, which is the Association of Military Banks of America, in June of 2024. He's leading the nation's only trade association that represents banks that specialize in providing financial services for military members, veterans, and their families. Immediately prior to joining AMBA, he spent 2 years as a director of 2 large management and technology advisory consulting firms focused on account planning, business development, and client solutions. After 18 total moves and 21 different mailing addresses, I got to think about how that math.
That 3, I can't figure out the 3.
Yes. Omuso transitioned from the Army in November of 2021. Over a 30-year career, which is just impressive right there. Thank you so much for your service. He led diverse teams at progressive levels of responsibility and managed the budget development and execution of some of the Army's most complex strategic funding programs, supporting force readiness worth billions of dollars. His last assignment included service as the Director of Resource Management for the U.S. Army Installation Management Command, overseeing the management and budget execution of funding resources for services and facilities across all Army installations. Prior to that, he served as the Director of Operations and Support within the Army Budget Office of the Assistant Secretary of the Army, where he was responsible for budget development and execution of the Army's personnel, operations, and maintenance and working capital portfolios worth $105 billion, or 60% of the Army's operating budget.
Wow.
Moose was the guy, the money man. And as you can imagine, with 30 years of faithful service, he had countless other assignments around the world. I would also share with you that he holds a BS in economics from the United States Military Academy at West Point, so we know who he cheers for in the Army-Navy game. He also holds MS in Management Information Systems from, is it Bowie State University?
Yeah, Bowie State.
Bowie State.
Yeah.
A master's in education and curriculum.
Jodi, it's David. Is it David Bowie or
it's
David
Bowie?
So There you go.
Well, I'm sure that university is not named after him. So
what about the guy that played for the University of Kentucky that was the center?
What was the Sam Bowie?
Right.
See, Tom's always testing me.
So
he tests me every single day. You have no idea.
That's a different way of testing Jodi.
You have no idea, Moose. Yeah. Oh my gosh, you've made me mess up his bio now. So anyway,
is BO
Bowie State University, Master's Education in Curriculum and Instruction from National Louis University, and an MS in Strategic Studies from United States Army War College. Also, along with 30 years of service, come numerous, almost too many to count, commendations and achievements recognizing that service. A little bit about Moose on a personal note. He and his wife, Monica, have been married for 34 years, having married on the day he was commissioned as a second lieutenant at West Point. That's kind of a cool story.
I know.
Yeah. They were the first marriage that day at the cadet chapel, so maybe there was more than one. We'll have to hear that story. Monica's been with the DoD for over 28 years and works as a staff analyst and the director of ops and plans for the U.S. Army Futures Command headquarters. And they have a daughter, Amaya, who graduated from Cornell, and she works at the corporate headquarters of the Walt Disney Company in Burbank, California. That's probably a fun job, where she's director for organizational development and strategy. And Moose grew up in the New York City and Long Island metropolitan area, which is why he is a Giants fan. We are connecting the dots.
Yankees fan. Yeah.
Well, we're connecting the dots. Yeah. Moose is far more athletic than Tom and I combined. He runs to clear his head. He tries to stay fit, reading, leisure travel with his wife, watching movies, music, sporting events. So he will have ready answers to all of your random
just like
questions.
Me, doesn't he?
Except for the running part. Yeah.
Much of that is aspirational.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Well, Moose, that you got a lot going on. You had a lot going on. First and foremost, thank you for your service.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
For sure. Welcome to our podcast. It's an honor to have you on, and we're excited to have you tell our audience and help them understand a little bit more about AMBA. I'd love for you just to share a little bit about AMBA at sort of a big picture level. And then I know Tom and I have a lot of questions for you today.
Well, I will tell you, I'm humbled and honored to be here. Really humbled to have been invited by you all. Tom knows that I've listened to many of your podcasts once I became aware of them, and all kinds of information and great conversation. So, it's a little bit, actually for me, it's a little bit exciting to actually be on the podcast. So
that's enough.
Did Tom pay you to say that?
I'm getting misty-eyed. Yeah.
Here's the tissue.
But yeah, Association of Military Banks of America is, you alluded to it earlier, it's the nation's only trade association focused on advocating for our military banks. And really, if someone asked me, what does that actually mean? What's a military bank? Actually, I had a conversation with someone earlier this week, actually yesterday, and they were asking, well, which bank could be a military bank? And it could be any bank, because I think about it from the standpoint of what defines a military bank. And those banks that are committed to or who have expressed a commitment to supporting our military and veteran community in any number of ways, through financial services that they provide, or a connection and support within the local community with those organizations that support our military service members and veterans and family members. And so there are any number of ways that a financial institution, a bank, can be defined as a military bank. And so AMBA has 98 member banks. We also have some non-bank members. We have 8 non-bank members. So we have a total of 106 members. And I, look at it as, well, how many banks are there in the United States? And there are over like 4,500 total banks in the United States. So I jokingly say to some people, hey, what's the addressable market for AMBA membership for banks?
4,500.
Yeah. So that is something that kind of excites me, because I have an opportunity to let other prospective member banks know about AMBA and the opportunity for partnership, and that, hey, AMBA is here to empower our banks to support the military and veteran community through a number of ways, through programs and service offerings. That's what it's about.
Yeah, and the advocacy and the things that we do, I say we, because I work with Moose on the board with him, and he, as the CEO of the organization. We certainly strategically try to find ways, whether it's programs, advocacy, education, collaboration, awareness building about all the things we do to support the military community through the conduit of the banks. It's just fun. And you're right about the upside, Moose, that the more people learn about us, the more they'll be engaged and the more they'll want to be part of the story of helping the military community. So it's pretty cool. But let's talk about you a little bit too. We're going to integrate a little bit of you, a little bit of AMBA, but how did you get to this role? Because who would have thunk, right, Moose, that
right
30 years in the military, 34 years being married to somewhere in New York, rooting for bad teams. And all this, next thing you know, you go through a vetting process, an interview process, selection process, and you get hired. But how did you get from A to Z?
It is I think it's an interesting journey, at least for me. I kind of ascribe to the philosophy, you'll hear people say sometimes one door closes and another door opens. And in some cases, it's not about doors necessarily closing, but just actually walking through doors that are open and being willing to take a leap of faith, if you will, and step out to try something new and different. I spent just over 30 years in the Army, and most of that time was as a senior financial manager. And I was very fortunate to have some really interesting careers, both financial management related and some of them that were not financial management. But once I transitioned from the Army, I spent, as you mentioned earlier, a couple of years in consulting, because there's basically coming from the place where I was in my career. And as I was retiring, there was a great opportunity, actually, in some ways, to give back to the Army, because having the opportunity to work with some of the consulting firms and contractors that provide services to our military is, in a way, an opportunity to give back. And I saw it as such. I was fortunate to have folks reach out to me as I was transitioning about some opportunities and organizations that needed some expertise in the area that I was just coming from. And I desired to really get some experience and try some new things in the private industry. So interestingly, I was not actually focused on nonprofits and trade associations. In fact, it was not at the top of my list as I was transitioning out. I kind of put those to the side. I was more focused on going out into the business world and trying some new things. And then in the positions I was in, where I had the opportunity to support these consulting firms that were public sector and obviously focused back on the Department of Defense, there was an opportunity for me to contribute in that way. I had a little bit of a 1 year cooling off period from my time, is what they refer to that as, after leaving the Army. And so I did provide kind of like senior advisory support in the consulting firm I was with at that time. And then that consulting firm was acquired. And this was a lesson for me in terms of mergers and acquisitions and how frequent they are in the private industry. But after 7 months, they were acquired by another firm, public sector consulting firm. And so transitioned to that firm and was there for just over a year. And later in the year, in late 2023, I just made the decision. I really wanted to take some time for a reset and look at other opportunities and take some time off. So I, very fortunate to obviously be in the position to be able to do that, because, not necessarily everyone's in a position to do that, but I was able to do that. And I took some time off to actually, I took some time off to get some things done around the house. There were some things on the to-do list that,
oh boy,
yeah, as I was working, I had not had the chance to attend to. Also took some time to take a trip or two with my wife, Monica. And then also at this point in your life, you always got to remember to kind of take care of yourself on the health and wellness side. And, I had some nagging issues that I needed to attend to. So I did take some time to address those. And in early 2024, a search firm reached out to me about the opportunity for AMBA, and that the CEO at the time, my predecessor, Major General retired Steve Lepper, was planning to retire. And if I was interested in kind of throwing my name into the hat to look at that opportunity. And that's what I did. And I didn't have, even though I spent some time, quite a bit of time in financial management in the Army, my familiarity with AMBA wasn't as high, because I don't think I had any real contact points with AMBA while I was in the Army, at least none of great significance. Now, I did have some contact with the Army banking program. I did not participate in that, but certainly familiar with it. And the officers that went through that program, I had the chance to work with them over the course of my career. But I wasn't as familiar with AMBA. So, just learning about what AMBA is and what it represents. And then from my side, from my background, I could certainly understand and relate based on the experiences that I'd had in financial management. And then from multiple perspectives, as a service member, as a bank customer, and with a family as well. And I had spent very early in my career, a little bit of time as a banking liaison officer at an installation overseas. And so that gave me some additional perspective.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier about having to deal with some nagging issues. I want to know if you have any advice for me to deal with Jodi.
I don't think I can be properly defined as a nagging issue.
Let me medical issues, Tom.
Oh,
thank you.
That's right. If I didn't qualify what I said correctly.
I just want to know how many things are on an accumulated 30-year-long honeydew list.
I know. Got to be, it says see over next page.
Yeah.
But if you had to summarize that, because you've been there at the helm, really, you got there kind of in June, but you officially took over in really August, September timeframe of 2024, just without going into too much detail. If you had to summarize your first year, I should ask you, how would you describe it in one word? But you can't do that, Moose. Because when I give you the one word question, you don't come up with a one word. So
I could try.
Give me one word about your first year as the leader of AMBA.
Adventure.
Yes.
How's that?
I thought it was going to be challenging, but adventure works.
Yeah, it's been, challenging is obvious, but it's been an adventure. It really has, because we've experienced so many things over the last year in terms of growth and changing some of our areas of focus and trying new experiences and how we provide some of our programs to our members. So it's been an adventure. It's been exciting.
It's fun. Yeah, it's challenging. It really is. Remember when we had our summit, we've talked about our summit with a couple of guests recently too, that we had in Colorado Springs, but
right.
We had that audible invite, if you will, at the last minute about cryptocurrency or Bitcoin and cybersecurity and all these things that might be impacting consumers and businesses and just the financial landscape. But because again, you and I, we read a lot, of course, and we like to be good students of the game and figure out what's going on out there in that landscape. But what are you seeing from your perspective as you go to conferences, as you talk to member banks, as you talk to friends in the military and just in your circles of influence? What are you seeing about the landscape that are impacting consumers, businesses, and like, again, good, bad, and ugly out there? It's fast paced, just like it feels like AI is faster than anything that's going on out there, and quantum computing and all that stuff. But what are you seeing from a member bank or military bank perspective?
Could I go back even like a little bit farther, Tom?
Sure.
Just because, when you take a moment to take in the perspective, like I think about when I first came into the Army. Mm-hmm. And we, at that time, really, DOD had just mandated, it was just after DOD had mandated direct deposit for service members. And there were banks on every installation. And you'd go, when I got commissioned, you had more or less, let's say, your hometown bank, right? And then you'd report to your duty station, and more than likely you might have to establish a bank account there, because guess what? If your bank wasn't the hometown bank, like some places a business wouldn't take a check because you weren't really I mean, you weren't really using credit cards too much at that point in your life, so
or debit cards.
Or debit cards, right. You weren't, because you really just had just an ATM card. You didn't really have a debit card. But so you'd open up, you'd have a checking account and make payments via check there. And you'd frequently be going into branches. And now you fast forward to now, and everything can be done from your phone, right? I mean,
that's why we had to hire a chief digital officer.
That's my job.
Exactly.
That's what I'm supposed to do.
Jodi's got to stay on top of all.
That's a light bulb moment.
That's right. That's right. So the landscape has just evolved exponentially over even like the last 35 to 40 years. And then we think about like the last 3 years, because when did Chat GPT come out? Like almost 3 years ago. It's like at the end of 2022, right? OpenAI. And so in the last couple of years, how has that impacted operations for our banks in the financial landscape? It's created opportunities. Well, it's created opportunities for customers, because perhaps they can even use AI to figure out which financial institutions are offering the services that,
good point. Yeah.
Right, that resonate with them. And then for our banks, there's an opportunity to improve their offerings in terms of the services that they offer to customers, and then how they actually operate in terms of those core systems. But it's a business decision in terms of what services you can offer, and really what the cost is, because obviously there's an investment to make changes to your legacy systems. But then also we know and we understand that it's also an opportunity for bad actors.
Hey everyone, we've got something special for our military listeners today.
Absolutely. If you're in the market for a new home, you've got to check out Armed Forces Bank's VA loans. They're designed specifically for you, with competitive rates, no PMI, and no down payment required. And as an approved VA lender with VA certified underwriters, all decisioning is done in-house, which creates a more streamlined experience for veterans.
At Armed Forces Bank, about 75% of our team is affiliated with the military, so we know what it's like to serve. We've been supporting military families for over 100 years, so we've got your back every step of the way.
Whether you're active duty, a veteran, or a reservist, we are here to make your home buying process smooth and stress-free. And with our mortgage service guarantee, we'll close your loan on time or pay you $1,000.
So if you're ready to move into your dream home, head over to afbank.com or visit a branch near you. Armed Forces Bank, serving those who serve.
Equal housing lender, member FDIC, subject to credit approval. VA funding fee may apply. VA loan qualification guidelines apply. Third-party closing costs apply. Owner-occupied property only.
And we understand that it's also an opportunity for bad actors to use AI to get after the things that they're trying to do as well. So it presents some opportunities and challenges, and how quickly our financial institutions can understand the opportunities that leveraging tools and AI platforms can provide to them, and how they provide services to their customers is really important. And then by extension, so what does that mean for our military banks, our banks that are providing services to militaries and veteran community? How can they do that? And that's what, Tom, you mentioned our summit. We had some great discussions, and bringing some thought leaders in to talk about that and have that exchange, that conversation. So yeah, it is a constantly evolving landscape that we're all trying to stay on top of, so that we can help our organizations, help our institutions to operate as effectively as they can and provide the best services that they can.
Yeah, and I think if our role at AMBA is to educate member banks, but then educate the ultimate end user with cybersecurity trends or updates, because account takeover and phishing and spoofing, and especially when you have deployments in households where having access and credentials appropriately to your online banking, it's just it's scary out there. And I think that we just have to be diligent, and we have to protect our consumers and our businesses from threats that are out there like that.
And you have to be able to do it for service members, because if a service member gets deployed to a far off place, they still need access, but they need to be able to do it securely. You know, I can remember on some deployments where I needed access to our bank and then communicating back with my wife. We were just trying to do some money transfers to, as an example, support our daughter. And what I found was where I was, I mean, obviously, you know, Monica could get to our accounts easily, but I think in some cases there was a little bit of confusion or a disconnect with the financial institution. And then my ability to access our accounts from a remote location was sometimes challenged. And then getting back to that financial institution to express to them, hey, we're all happy. We're glad that the bank is doing what they can to prevent instances of fraud, but you don't want it in such a way that it prevents you from being able to do what you need to do.
Good point. Yeah. Risk reward and balancing that and protecting people.
Yeah. And I think all that kind of goes along with something I wanted to ask you about related to, so we talked about the banking landscape and how that's evolved, but also how does that intersect with the kind of ever evolving military life? I mean, you mentioned that, or we mentioned in your bio, you've moved 18 times, you've had 21 different addresses. There's definite challenges when the family is not living under the same roof. My husband and I did that for 6 or 7 years, I think, at the end of his career. And that's hard. But what about even just the constant moving? I mean, if you had 18 moves and you were in for 30 years, every 15, 16 months or so, you're uprooting your life and your family and moving around. And there's definitely a financial aspect to that.
That's right. And it can become a challenge. And what I experienced was early in my career, we were probably stationary a little longer together. But as I progressed through my career, the series of assignments that I had often really got kind of chopped up into sometimes just 1 year, and even on maybe a few occasions, even less than a year. And the challenge then became, well, I'll talk about it from a couple of aspects. First, the continuing conversation, as my wife, you know, as you highlighted, was, well, still is a Department of the Army civilian, and now working for the newly formed Army Transformation and Training Command. Yeah, so she was with Army Futures Command, and now they merged with TRADOC to form this new command. But the challenge was the opportunities for her to be able to continue her employment, right? Because that's like the first kind of question, because my wife has probably supported the Army and the military through my entire time that I've been in since day one. And opportunities for employment with so many moves is obviously very challenging. Once she was able to start her career as a federal civil servant, that did present opportunities, but with my frequent moves, it could be a challenge, because if the Army says, hey, you're moving from National Capital Region to Fort Hood, Texas, okay, first question is, hey, what's out there in terms of employment opportunities for her at a certain point to be able to actually continue her career, not just to get a job, but to be able to continue her career. And multiple times we had to make the hard choice that, well, she was going to stay back where she was to continue her career. And we worked it out as well as we could with really good communication and really just trying to plan and figure out what comes next in terms of, you know, how long I was going to be at an assignment, and then the planning for the next move and whether or not there were opportunities. And it wasn't for a lack of trying, because in some cases we moved all of our things, you know, all of our belongings, all of our household goods and furniture, but Monica stayed back because there was an expectation that, hey, she might be able to continue her employment, but unfortunately she wasn't able to find a position, even sometimes with military spouse preference, that did not automatically guarantee her an opportunity. So it's a challenge. I can absolutely appreciate how hard it is from a spouse employment perspective with frequent moves and trying to carry on your career. So
yeah, absolutely.
And then I'll just mention, just with multiple moves, it's, the Department of Defense does offer some like dislocation allowance and some entitlements that support the PCS moves. And also the department has in the past acknowledged and recognized how challenging it is with frequent moves. And in instances where the services can enact policies that allow a service member to stay at a duty location longer to stabilize his or her family while allowing them to continue their continued professional progression, it works out. Obviously, it's not perfect in every case, but there's a financial challenge with it because frequent moves, you're always trying to figure out, okay, what am I going to need at the next location? You got to change your wardrobe because if you're going from a warm climate to, somewhere up, if you're going to Fort Drum, New York from maybe, like Huntsville, Alabama, you might need a change of clothing. And then how are you going to, what happens is you start collecting a lot of things, right? So what you find is you got like 24 floor mats and, little all of these little household items that you start collecting because you're buying, you get to the next location, you want to get set up and you're buying those things, but it's a challenge and it gets expensive. And then you want to get your kids adjusted and make sure they've got what they need. So it's almost like a drill, if you will, just kind of, you go through a couple of times and then you pick it up and there are certain things that you repeat and you learn some things along the way. Hey, don't spend money on this. You got to put some money aside for that. You kind of work as a team to figure out how to get it done.
Yeah, I think I learned from our last Diddy move, we would never do another Diddy move.
Yes. Or at least you do a partial Diddy move, right?
Oh, no, I want no part of it. I want no part of it. Go ahead, Tom. I'm sorry.
We're going to do it at 180 degrees here. So banks, we talked about 4,500 banks in the country, right, Moose? And we our 98 banks that are members. But banks are the sort of that conduit, right? And they play an integral role in the education, financial services, the products, the programs, the collaboration. But from your perspective, what are maybe some tidbits, maybe some best practices that banks, whether you're a dedicated military bank or a bank serving the military, what are some ways that they can support service members, veterans, or families? Are there some things that come to mind, Moose?
Yeah. From my perspective, banks and even the credit unions, but yeah, financial.
What did you say? You're breaking up. Yeah. even those fintech.
Yeah. But they're the foundation because they form that financial foundation for, well, really in the community for service members, for deposit accounts, because you need a safe and secure institution to keep your pay, your funds, and also banks can provide all kinds of services, across a community, whether it's providing different types of loans and awareness of financial education and resilience programs, that they either offer or can support in partnership with other community organizations. That's where I see our banks being the bedrock, and then understanding the unique characteristics of military service and some of the challenges that our military service members face with their families. We just talked about the frequent moves. And so if our banks can offer services that are specifically targeted to support our service members in that respect, then that's extremely helpful.
Agreed.
I know another way that we try to help, back to your point about the moves and spouse continuing employment, is if we have a spouse in one of our branch locations and their significant other spouse PCSs, if we have a branch where they're headed, we try and make space and do what we can there.
That's an impactful way. You think about the military spouse unemployment rate being moved between 23 and 27% on any given day, that how banks can help and what they can do to help military families as they transition or PCS is maybe create opportunities for them for the employment. We have 80% of our workforce that has a military connection, and that's how member banks and other banks can help with that transition, help with those moves, help with maybe financial hardships that might come out of frequent relocation. So that's a great way to step up.
Well, it's also recognizing it's just even recognizing that unique characteristic of the service as you've highlighted, Tom, because I think about young Lieutenant George and like I got to go back. And so Monica George, before she entered federal civil service, one of her first jobs was at a local community bank back in Fort Bliss, Texas. And then our next duty assignment, just to highlight your point, we were moving to Fort Riley, Kansas.
Yes.
And so
the big red one.
Yeah. And so I will never forget that the bank that she worked at in Texas, her manager wrote like a letter of reference for Monica that she brought with her to Kansas. And she was able to get a position at a local community bank in Kansas. At the time, it was called, I think, Kansas State Bank in Manhattan, Kansas. But she worked there for like the entire time that we were stationed at Fort Riley when I was a lieutenant and a captain for 3 years. So exactly to your point, those types of opportunities to support spouses, military families and spouses through job opportunities, employment opportunities can really be beneficial.
Agreed.
Moose?
Yes, sir.
No, it's going to derail him. He won't be able to know how to answer this question, right?
I bet you he'll figure it out.
I still want to know about the best financial advice you ever received.
Oh, seriously? It very simply? No. It's really, I'd say, honestly, Tom, to the best of your ability, live within your means. And
solid.
And pay yourself first.
Ooh, two good messages.
That's I can say that as if it's so simple. And we're living in complex times because we all feel the impacts of inflation and the inflationary pressures on the economy. So it's not just as simple as, well, hey, you need to live within your means. I mean, it can be challenging to live within your means as a junior service member just starting out, and things are pretty expensive. So it really does, it can be a challenge. But what I would also say is there are many organizations that can provide assistance and help with being able to do that. We just highlighted the important piece that our banks can play with providing support to service members and their families. And then there are other organizations, the relief societies, and some of our military service organizations and veteran service organizations that, we partner with. They can provide financial counseling and financial readiness training. And then, of course, DOD has their programs too. All of our service members obviously have a chain of command, and the command and leadership can provide support and some recommendations. But it really is challenging. But in this day and age, there are so many pitfalls and challenges, Tom. Everything is so easy to access.
Too easy.
You can get on your phone right now and do sports betting and online gambling, right? It's too easy to get to those things that can potentially become pitfalls. And even how easy is it to, we talked about the financial assistance that our banks can provide, but there are also non-bank actors as well that offer all kinds of assistance that can potentially get our service members and families into something of a financial trap. Not all of them, but certainly some of them. And that's where the challenge is. So it just really being steadfast on living within your means and trying to pay yourself first in terms of setting aside. It doesn't matter what the amount is, even if it's a small amount.
Just something. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I think it's the habit of doing that, right?
Yeah.
By the way, tell our audience your website, because I think if only 98 banks are members, get that over the century mark and beyond. But
right.
Tell our audience your website, and then we're going to get into our military minute and have some fun with you, because you're well aware of this game.
So
being a podcast listener that you are. Yeah.
www.ambahq.org. And, Tom, that website will be changing. You'll still be able to get to it, but, we are
going to be redirected to the new site.
We are going, yes, we're about to upgrade our website. We're pretty excited about that. And we'll be making some changes here coming up in terms of our brand and our look that, like I said, we're really excited about.
And Moose's cell number is 703.
Yes.
Stop it, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
555.
That's okay. I'll publish Tom's on the internet.
Right.
It'll be fine.
Actually, my number is probably already on it,
Well, we did find your picture, so not that that's weird.
We're going to play a game. You were awesome, as usual, Moose.
Yes.
It's always great listening to you and knowing that you've got all that military background and your leadership that you're playing in today's world with AMBA. I appreciate getting to know you, and we'll continue to grow together and make great things happen for our military banks and for the military community.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate that. And I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you all today. And I appreciate your wise counsel, Tom, as I've told you before.
Oh, here we go.
I can't wait for what he's about to say.
And your support. No, your support to
remember you're welcome.
You guys have been, you all are like OGs with
AMBA OGs.
AMBA, right? Yeah. Armed Forces Bank is an OG. You all have been around supporting the military for a very long time, since what, like 1907?
Way to go, Moose.
And because I have teenagers, I know what OG means.
But by the way, remember, Moose was a consultant. You were a consultant. Sometimes you're very verbose and sometimes you're not very authentic. But Moose,
I'm going to have to think about how to feel about that. So apparently Moose is an avid listener of our podcast.
He is.
Said,
yes. He's one of 10,132,000.
He's probably the number one fan. They rank your fans
today.
Maybe not. But so you're probably familiar with our military minute. So last week's military minute was about military uniforms. We had on our friend from Sheath, and so you had prior service as well. And so what are the three main categories of military uniforms? So thinking about my husband, I was thinking like they used to be BDUs, but his ACUs, and then his super awesome Army greens, and then his blues would be the combat service and dress, but PTs might be a fourth. So if you answered that,
if you answered the way Jodi thinks you should answer it,
I would say if they got 3 of those 4, that's probably a fair answer. Yeah. So if you're in our audience and you dropped that on our last podcast, watch for your name to hit, and you could be the lucky winner of $50 for yourself and $50 for a charity of your choice. And this week's military minute, you've got to know this,
Aren't
Moose,
you thrilled?
but you can't say the answer because it's for our audience to play.
Okay.
And I'm glad we had a lengthy discussion about how to pronounce this at the beginning.
Bowie or Bowie?
Because I already forgot. So this relates to one of the universities you've attended. It's a 2-part question because Tom's a big fan of the multi-part question. What is the motto for, is it Bowie? Did we decide? Bowie? Bowie State University. And what is the mascot? So just say yes or no. Do you know the answer?
I know half of the answer.
Do you know getting 50% right is still a failing grade?
I know half of the answer.
Okay, so consult Google, Moose or our audience, consult Google. And if you know what the motto is for Bowie State University and the school mascot, put your best guess in the comments when this podcast drops. And if you're right, first and foremost, and you're selected, secondly, you too could win $50 for yourself and $50 for a charity of your choice. I bet you know the mascot part, if I had to guess.
Yeah. Yep.
Motto's a little trickier.
Yeah.
Yeah, there probably isn't even a motto for the school.
Tom may have very well made it up. So there's that.
It sounded too cool to pass up on that. So if you enjoyed today's episode, go out to afbank.com, subscribe to the show. Also, make sure to rate us, leave us a comment on your favorite podcast platform, Apple, Spotify, YouTube.
Well, it has been a treat getting to know you, Moose, and I appreciate your time today to join us and share about AMBA with our audience and to hear about your career as well. That's always of interest to me when we have guests on that have served.
Thank you. It's been, like I said, I was humbled to actually be able to join and excited about where we're going with AMBA. So I appreciate the opportunity to talk a little bit about it. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thank
well
you
done,
so much.
Moose. Talk soon.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye, sir.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Copyright Armed Forces Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. All non-Armed Forces Bank-owned apps, websites, company names, and product names are trademarks or registered trademarks of their respective owners. Their mention does not imply any affiliation with or endorsement by Armed Forces Bank of them or their products and services. They are merely used as examples of the many available apps, companies, and websites that offer similar services. Before using any app or website, you should carefully review the terms of use, data collection, and privacy policy. Apps may have an initial cost or in-application purchase features. This information is general in nature and is not intended to be legal, tax, or financial advice. Although Armed Forces Bank believes this information to be accurate, it cannot ensure that it could change. Statements or opinions of individuals referenced herein are their own, not Armed Forces Bank. Consult an appropriate professional concerning your specific situation and respective governing bodies for applicable laws, such as irs.gov for current tax law. Armed Forces Bank, the Armed Forces Bank logo, and the Militarily Speaking logo are registered trademarks of Armed Forces Bank.